Hello everyone, it's Becca from Becca Books and Bujo, and today we are talking through all the books I read in July. July was a pretty good reading month. Here are the stats for the month. I read 14 books, more than 4,000 pages. My average rating was a 4.11, so fairly good. And the statistic that I'm most impressed with is that I read 7 books just physically. That is a lot for me. Normally I read mostly audiobooks, and so to read 7 just in physical format is really cool. I think I read a lot in July. I am in full-blown Deck of TBRathon mode right now, and so I thought it would be fun to talk about my books using the prompts from Deck of TBRathon and see if I can get the most points possible out of the 14 books that I read. So I should be able to get 70 points. We will do a score at the end of the video and see if I can get those points or not based on the cards that I draw. If you are unfamiliar with Deck of TBRathon, it is a readathon that I'm hosting right now with Chloe from Always Booked. It runs the whole month of August, so you can definitely still join. You draw a card from a deck of cards and you let it dictate what you read for the month. It's pretty fun. Anyway, we're gonna see if out of 14 draws I can get 5 points for every single book, and it'll be narrowing down the options as we go. I don't know. Maybe this isn't gonna work, but I thought it'd be fun. Let's give it a try. All right, my first draw is a 3. The prompt for 3 is on your owned TBR. So was there a book that I had on my TBR for more than 5 years? I think so. So I have had Bel Canto by Ann Patchett on my physical TBR for more than 5 years. I know I bought this when we lived in our previous town, and that was 5+ years ago. So Bel Canto is kind of a classic, almost a more modern classic. It is about a set of people who are taken hostage at a vice president's house, a vice president of a country. They are all at this opera event. There's a famous woman singing, and rebels come in through the air ducts and hold them hostage for multiple weeks. They can never come up with a solution. And while some people are let go, mostly the men and the main female, who is the opera singer, are held hostage for a long time. It ends kind of crazily. I was not super fond of this book just because I think I went into it with wrong expectations. I was thinking it was going to be super thrilling, and reading Ann Patchett before, I should have known that that wouldn't be the case, because she definitely focuses more on characters and not so much plot heavy. So that was my mistake, and I probably had too high of expectations for a quicker plot. So I ended up giving this 3 stars. I talk about this more in my birthday week reading vlog, so you can check that out. I will link it up above. I think I won't put the 3 back in just because I'm playing it my rules. All right, let's see. We got a 7. A 7 is someone else picks. So let's see, do I have a librarian pick on here? I believe I do. This was on their like recommended shelf when I went and got it. This is The Berry Pickers by Amanda Peters. So I'll get 5 points for this. We're at 10 for 10. That's great. This is a really compelling story about a young girl who gets taken from her Native American family when they are in Maine picking berries for the summer. She is on the side of the road by herself, and a woman takes her because she isn't able to have children of her own. We follow both of the families that this girl could have or was a part of. So we follow her adopted family and how she was raised, but then we also follow her parents and her siblings from the family that she was taken from. It was really, really great and super neat to see how these stories intertwined. I ended up giving it 4 stars, really enjoyed myself, and I read this for my friend's book club. We'll discuss it in a few days here, and I'm excited to see what all of them thought. All right, let's draw again. A 7 again. Uh-oh. Well, we're gonna go with my other library book because it was, I think, on the new releases setup, and I'm going to count that as a library pick. So for another 5 points, we've got Lightfall, The Dark Times, which is the third in the Lightfall series by Tim Probert. This is a middle grade graphic novel with absolutely beautiful pictures and artwork. I love the artwork so much. Unfortunately, this book fell a little flat compared to the first and second. I feel like this was just a filler book, getting our characters from one point to another. Not much happened, so it fell a little flat, like I said, for me. I still love Bee and Cad, who is the Galdarian, and love the relationship that they have formed on their journey in trying to bring back the light to their world. The whole idea of this Lightfall story is that the sun has disappeared, or their sources of light. It's not necessarily the sun. So they are trying to restore light back to their world. It is a super sweet series, and I will definitely continue on with it. But again, this was more just filler to get us from book 2 to book 4, I assume. All right, we're 15 for 15 points. Let's see if we can keep up the streak. Okay, a 2. So I need to relate it to the last, I'm just going to say relate it to the last book that I talked about, which was The Dark Times. That was a fantasy, so it's not the same genre. I have the same colors, like black? No. Same authors. P. Haha. It's gonna work for 5 points. So that was by Tim Probert. The next book I will talk about is by Amy Pendino. This is The Witness Tree. And if you watched my Read It or Not challenge, you will have seen that I DNF'd this book. But this story really stuck in my mind, and so I returned to it at the end of the month and did end up finishing it. I gave it 3.5 stars, so not my favorite, but definitely an interesting story and one that I loved because it took place in my neck of the woods of Minnesota and northern Iowa. We are following 2 timelines in this book. The first is in like the 1930s, 40s. We follow Lily, and she is just graduating from high school, ready to go off to college and decide who she is going to be in the world. She has been in this long-standing relationship with a boy. He proposes, and she decides that's not what she wants. She meets someone else, someone new and different in the community. He is Mexican, working on a farm, and being it was in the 1930s, 40s, people of color are obviously looked down upon. I mean, that still happens today, let's be honest. But it was really frowned upon that she had a relationship with this man. Jumping forward to 2002, I think, Danny has moved to this area, and she learns about Lily's story and tries to connect the dots as to why Lily left this community so quickly and why she never returned. There is this curse about this tree. The curse is that if you are to ever take down the tree, you will be cursed. It's this tree that is split right in the middle, and Danny takes down the tree. So that's another factor in it too, a little mystery and intrigue. But yeah, still really great storytelling, and I love that I could read this book by Amy Pendino. I got to meet her at an author event back in October, and I definitely will be picking up the second book by her called Wild Horses. This is going surprisingly well, and I'm probably going to jinx myself. So let's see, a king. Okay. This has to do with genre, so it could either be my favorite genre, a host's favorite genre, which I'm a host, or a rarely read genre. And out of these, the most rarely read, and I don't read a lot of nonfiction, honestly, that is not the genre I go to. So we can talk about Just Mercy by Bryan Stevenson. This is a memoir of sorts by Bryan Stevenson, who is a lawyer that works with the Equal Justice Initiative, which is a foundation that he set up to defend those who often can't find attorneys or correct defense for their cases. He mostly defends people who are on death row who are wrongly convicted. He has been able to overturn a lot of cases and save a lot of people's lives. But then he and others in his legal practice also support youth, mentally unwell, and anybody else who is marginalized. This was such a phenomenal story, and if you have not read it, you need to. Mostly this book focuses on when he was defending Walter McMillian, who he was able to get off of death row, but he had been on death row for years and years. He had been sentenced to die for a notorious murder that he didn't commit. So it was a lot of facts and real life events, but told so well and so magnificently. The one thing I really got out of it is that we are all broken. Our levels of brokenness may be different, but that is what we all have in common. We are all broken and we all deserve a little bit of mercy and grace. And yeah, what he had to say about that was just really lovely. So give this one a try if you have not read it. We are doing great. 25 for 25 points. Let's see what we have to talk about next. A 5. The 5 prompt is a host read. Well, this one's a gimme because it needs to be on my July TBR. Okay, funny. This one's hard because I could honestly talk about any of my books, but, well, not all of them. I did a bit of mood reading in July, but I guess I will pick this one because I don't know if it could fit in any other prompt categories. This is The Making of Another Major Motion Picture Masterpiece by Tom Hanks. I don't want to give this one too much more time. I did talk about it at length in my Read It or Not challenge. I love Tom Hanks as an actor, but as a writer, I think he's not for me. This is basically about all of the different people who work toward putting together a movie. And some parts were really interesting to learn about the very intricate details that go into making a movie, but I don't think I was the right audience. I feel like this is really only for people in the movie business and industry. For the ending and the culmination, it wasn't what I wanted it to be. So, yeah, this was 2.5 stars, I think, because there was still some retribution in some of the moments. Like, I really loved the middle 100 pages, but to read this book physically, it was a lot. It was 430 some pages. So yeah, not my favorite, and I will likely be unhauling this. All right, draw number 7 is Another King. Great. I might not be able to get the 5 points here because it's a rarely read genre, and all of the books I have left are either romance, contemporary, or historical fiction, which are my 3 favorite genres. So we will just get 3 points, and let's just knock out the other Read It or Not book that I got this month. This is The Keeper of Happy Endings by Barbara Davis. This is a historical fiction about World War II France, but also current time. It's a dual timeline. We are following 2 women and how they are connected by a dress and a building. The way that they are connected is maybe a little far-fetched, but I think that that is like the magical realism part of this book. It was just like so lovely and perfect, and to see their relationship forming was great. I gave this 4.5 stars. Again, if you want to hear more of my thoughts, check out that Read It or Not vlog. But this is a really well done historical fiction about France and about dressmaking, artwork, and how 2 people can come together unexpectedly. Next up, Another King. Dang it. Well, we'll go with the romance this time. I read Beach Read by Emily Henry, and this is my new favorite book by Emily Henry, one of my new favorite romances of all time. Beach Read is about 2 writers. The first is January. She normally writes romance. She loves a happy ending. However, her father has just died, and she found out that he wasn't quite the man she thought her entire life. And so all she wants to do is write dark, contemplative, literary fiction. Then we've got Gus, Augustus Everett, and he always writes that literary fiction. He has a past that has made him who he is today and writes like that. But they strike up a bet and say, I bet you I can write a better book than you in your genre. So January is writing a literary fiction and Gus is writing a romance. And they also decide, to keep up with the theme of this bet, that Gus will teach January how to do research for a book. And so they have little research excursions on Friday nights. And then Saturday, January gets to do romantic things with Gus to teach him how to write a romance. Of course, romance ensues, but I will leave it at that. It is so wonderful. And the way that Emily Henry can write the dynamic between two people in a relationship is just perfect. Their banter is hilarious, and I loved it. So I gave this one 5 stars. I think we're at 36 points out of a possible 40. So let's see. Another king? Dang it. I'm only getting 3 points for these kings from here on out. Oh, but that was the last king. Let's see. What should we talk about? Might as well just go to the other Emily Henry. I read her newest release, Funny Story, and again, absolutely loved this. It is about Miles and Daphne. Daphne is a children's librarian. I loved that aspect of it, but she has just gone through a terrible breakup. Her fiance decided to get together with his best friend from high school after she professed her love for him. So her fiance Peter is now with Petra. Petra was also in a relationship with Miles, and so both Miles and Daphne are kind of out on their luck. They decide to live together because Daphne has nowhere else to go, and so she is living with her ex-fiance's new fiance's ex. That's the tagline of this book. Anyway, they seem like they should be opposites and not get along at all, but they start up a friendship and are able to have a little fun. Daphne is convinced that she should no longer live in this town that she moved to with Peter, and Miles is set on convincing her that she should stay. So that's kind of the gist of this book. I absolutely loved it. Again, the banter, the connections between the characters. One thing I should say about this one, I loved that there were other characters present in the relationship. It wasn't just between the two. There were friends that they had together. Miles' sister was pretty important in the book, and so I loved that aspect as well. 5 stars. All right, can't be any more kings, so let's see. A 4. A big book. I don't think I've got any big books left. Uh-oh. Just barely. I have a book over 400 pages. This is the first in the Bridgerton series, The Duke and I by Julia Quinn. It's 420 pages, so I only get 1 point for this weird little game I'm playing with myself. Anyway, like I said, this is the first in the Bridgerton series. We are following the 4th Bridgerton, Daphne, and her romance with, why can't I think of his name? Hastings. Simon Hastings. Or Simon Basset, Duke of Hastings. I don't know how to title people and call people in Regency era, but this was really good. I had a fun time reading this at the lake. So again, that's in that mood reading for my birthday vlog. But this is almost a fake dating trope too. Daphne is sick of her mother hounding her to get married, and Simon is not loving women fighting over him, and because he's a duke, he needs an heir. So they decide to get people off of our backs. Let's pretend to court each other. And, you know, things happen as they do in romance. And it's really, really good. I thought that the 3rd act conflict was really valid. Usually I kind of hate 3rd act conflicts, and it's when it's communication based, I get really annoyed. But this one was super valid and dealt with wanting to have children or not. So really, really good. I am definitely excited to continue on with the Bridgertons and to try the Netflix series. Alrighty, book number, I think 8, 9, a 3. Darn it. The only books I have left were all acquired within 6 months or less. So what do we want to talk about? Let's go with Saturday Night at the Lakeside Supper Club by J. Ryan Stradall. I got this fairly recently at a library book sale. So this is another book set in Minnesota. Absolutely loved it. I gave it 4 stars, I think, just because I think I didn't have like that compelling part in my brain to like pick it up. But anyway, still really great story writing. We're following Mariel, who owns her grandfather's Lakeside Supper Club. She's running it and struggling with some difficult things in her past, from her past, but also present. And we also follow 2 other timelines. We follow her husband back when they were just boyfriend and girlfriend, Ned, and then we also follow her mother when she was a teenager. So we're getting all of these different timelines, but J. Ryan Stradall is able to weave them together really well, and I wasn't confused ever. It just made sense the way he told the story. Ultimately, it is about family dynamics and like restaurants being passed down between generations and how that affects people. Some people really want to run that restaurant for their family and others don't. And we see those dynamics playing out. But also some really difficult topics, death and miscarriage, infertility, yeah, those kind of things. If you want to hear more about it, I read this book when I was at the lake. So you can check out that vlog. How many times can I say that? All right, it's slim pickings. Only 3 books left. A 10. What is a 10? Oh, Goodreads rating. Well, I know for a fact that this has less than 1,000 ratings because it has not even been released yet. This comes out August 6th, so on Tuesday. You're watching this on Sunday. It comes out in 2 days, and I would definitely recommend that you give it a try. This is The Cheesemaker's Daughter by Kristen Vukovic. It is a historical fiction, kind of contemporary slice of life deal about a woman who is unhappy in New York, so she returns to her home country of Croatia to help her father run their cheese factory. The cheese factory is in a little bit of trouble financially, and so Marina is tasked to bring it back to life. She's struggling a lot with what went on in New York. She had a husband there, again, infertility issues, unfortunately, and so she is trying to figure out what she wants with her life after what she thought her life wasn't working out for her. She does great things for the cheese factory. It is so fun to see her trying to bring it back to life. The way that cheese is described in here is something I never knew I needed to know, but it was really, really beautiful. I never knew that cheese was flavored by the herbs that sheep graze on in the fields. Like, that's really neat. So yeah, really, really love this story. It was written very well. I'm very surprised with Kristen Vukovic and that this is her debut. There go all my books. But yeah, if you're looking for just a sincere, heartfelt story with a strong sense of home and love for your country, definitely give The Cheesemaker's Daughter a try. Alrighty, another 10. Oh darn. This is the Goodreads prompt. I'm gonna have to go on my Goodreads quick and check what these last 2 books received for ratings. They both have higher than a 4-star rating, and they both have 2,000. Well, one has 2,000 ratings and one has like 100,000 ratings. So I guess we're only getting 1 point. Trying to decide what card I might get next. Okay, we're gonna talk about a book that I just have a piece of paper for to remind me that I read it. It was a friend's book, so I returned it to her. This is Good Different by Meg Eden Kuyat. This is a middle grade written in verse about a young girl named Selah who realizes that she has autism. And this is Own Voices. Meg Eden Kuyat is on the spectrum as well, and it was just a beautiful, beautiful story. This is my first read of July, and it really set the bar high for books in July because it was a 5-star read. I found myself crying a lot in this book because this poor young girl just was never truly seen for who she was, and the way she was able to find herself through her writing and through the friends she surrounded herself with, well, her friend and her teacher, she was just able to make it in the world, and it was absolutely beautiful. I'm going to read you one of the poems because she had to fight for herself a lot. Her mom and grandpa didn't think that anything was necessarily wrong or that she needed any help. And not that anything is wrong with her. She was just different, and it was a good kind of different. So here is a poem she wrote for her class, and it's called The Case for Me. Even though I'm quiet, I have so much to say. Every sound, touch, light is a war in my body that you don't see. I've been trying so hard to be like you, to follow the rules for being normal, but I'm not. I am autistic. My brain is different but beautiful. I might be the only one making a case for me, but I know if you make a little room for my wings, I'll fly. Some things are hard for me that are easy for you, but I have plenty to contribute, like writing poems and helping people with math and being a good student. I feel so much. I'm a puppet whose strings attach to everything. The stuff sitting in our trash can, the trees in our woods, every noise from every room. I'm a part of everything. I feel all of it like the whole world is having a sleepover inside my body. But I realize now I don't think I want to trade that part, or any part of me, for all the normal in the world. It just celebrates neurodivergency and the beauty that every individual has. So this was such a great book. I gave it 5 stars. All right, is it gonna work perfectly or horribly? An 8. It's gonna be perfect. Okay, an 8 is a book in a series, and this is actually completing a series, or a series of companion novels. This is Life's Too Short by Abby Jimenez, which is the 3rd and final in her The Friend Zone series. So I get 5 points. Ooh. This is such a fun romance. I gave it 4.5 stars. We are following Adrian Copeland, who is the cousin to Josh in The Friend Zone. So that's the little companion part there. He is a hotshot lawyer in Minneapolis, and he lives next door to Vanessa, who is a famous YouTuber, content creator, and they strike up a friendship when her baby that she has kind of fostered, it's her sister's baby that her sister can't take care of right now, her baby is keeping him up in the night, and he goes over and is able to calm her. So they form this friendship and bond over their little girl Grace, and it's really, really lovely. They both have issues, family issues mostly, but the way they're able to come together and raise Grace and be there for each other when they are going through such difficult times is wonderful. This one also talks a lot about ALS, because Vanessa's mother and sister both died from ALS. So I think that that representation was really important and a big factor of this book. I love Abby Jimenez. I will read everything she writes. I have read now everything that she has put out, and super glad that I completed this trilogy. I ended up scoring 52 points out of 70, which means I got a 74%. Hey, C's get degrees, am I right? So anyway, that was just a fun way to do my wrap up for the month, which I normally dislike recording. So I hope you enjoyed this wrap up. Let me know in the comments if you have read any of the books I read in July and what you thought of them. Did you agree with me? Did you not? It would be great to have some discussion with you down below in the comments. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye.